ShelbyKay here, and welcome back to my channel, or hello if you are new. Today I am coming at you guys with a really fun video. I came up with this video idea a little while ago and I've just been waiting to film it. I think it's gonna be so much fun. If you guys didn't know, I am a bit of a writer. I have been writing since, elementary school really. And one of the things that I used to really write back in high school was fan fiction. If you guys don't know what fan fiction is, essentially it is where you write a story revolving around some sort of like TV show or movie or book or something like that that already exists, and you kind of create your own story using those characters, create situations, things like that. Like you write a story based off of something that's already an established series of some sort. So I used to write a lot of fan fiction back in high school. I was a total nerd. I was totally into anime, and well, I say was, like, I'm not anymore. I still am. I'm just not as big into the anime world as I used to be, but I digress. I used to write a lot of fan fiction in high school, and I actually had an account on a website called fanfiction.com. So I thought today it would be really fun to go back to some of those stories and read you guys a little bit of the snippets. So I'm already logged into my account. So let me show that to you real quick. So this was my fan fiction account. My username is MimiFlora92. I had this cute little picture of Heihachi from Samurai 7, and as you can see, I had a few stories going. So before we get into the actual stories, this was my channel description, or my account description. It says, "Yo peoples, name's Shelby-kun, but you can call me ShelbyKay, S-kun, MimiFlora, or Flora, whatever works. I love to write, especially fan stories," and I spelled especially wrong. "I love doing crossovers, so expect a lot of those. Also expect a lot of extended endings for different animes / cartoons / movies, because I love writing about lives people lead after a series is over. Anyways, enjoy." And then I also linked my YouTube channel at the time for my AMVs. So yeah, that was kind of my profile, if that gives you a little look into the type of person I was back then. But I'm going to read you guys just a little bit, just some snippets from some of these stories. Now, keep in mind that these are fan stories, and all of them but one are for anime. So I'm not going to give you guys any background on like the animes themselves, because this video will just be way too long if I do that. I will leave links to like Wikipedia pages for each series or something that's going to have a summary of what it's about if you guys want to read into that. But a lot of these are continuations of series after they have already ended. But I think for the most part, you should be able to kind of get the gist of what's going on. You guys a little bit, some little snippets from some of these stories. Okay, so the first one is called Confessions of a Defeated Emperor. It was first posted back on April 22nd of 2009, so 11 years ago. This was a crossover of two different animes. The animes were called Inuyasha and Samurai 7. This is again a continuation from the ending of Samurai 7. And here's just the little blurb, because you can write like a summary, I guess, kind of thing. And this is my little summary for this story. "He's not sure where or who he is. All he can remember is the face of an evil man. He's being taken care of by a young girl and her friends who have promised to help him regain his lost memories. Why does this girl remind him so much of his past?" So we're gonna go ahead and jump right in to to some of this. So this is the first chapter of the story. It is called Awakening. "His face felt warm, and he could feel sweat rolling down his cheeks. His breath was short, and his chest was throbbing with pain. He slowly opened his eyes. He was lying on his back, looking up at a wooden ceiling. There was a cool, wet cloth draped gently across the length of his forehead. He sat up, and it fell to his lap. His chest became tight. He looked down and found that his shirt had been removed, and in its place were clean bandages. They were covering a large slash mark across his chest. What am I doing here?" he asked himself. The last thing that he could remember was waking up at the bottom of that ravine. He had somehow managed to crawl out of it and travel about a mile or so before collapsing in the bushes and losing consciousness. Everything before or after that was a blur. Footsteps. He looked to his left and saw a young girl walking towards him. She looked young, probably about 16 years old. She was oddly dressed, wearing clothes that he had never seen before, but her face seemed kind and gentle. Hello," the girl stuttered. You probably have no idea who I am or where you are. You're safe in a village. My friend and I found you alongside the road. We weren't sure what had happened to you, but we assumed that maybe you had some friends or family nearby, so we brought you here. But when no one knew who you were, we came to this inn and we cleaned you up. Your wounds are pretty serious. It took forever to get the bleeding from the slash mark on your chest to stop, and both your legs are broken. I've set them for you, so don't try to move too much. Just as a side note, I don't know if I caught this when I wrote this or not, but if both his legs are broken, how did he travel a mile from the ravine? Anyway, he looked at the girl in a daze. The kind tone in her voice and the loving aura that surrounded her reminded him of someone he had held dear some time before, in a time he could no longer remember. But even though her memory was no longer there, he knew that she was the reason he was still alive, the reason he had found the strength to crawl out of that ravine at all. This girl resembled the girl from his lost memory. You must have been in a terrible situation to get such horrible wounds, she said. Not that it's any of my business. The important thing now is that you're safe and healing. She smiled sweetly at him before standing up and walking over to the fire pit in the center of the room. He searched through his mind, trying to find the right words to say. How long was I unconscious? He stammered. The girl turned to face him again. At least 3 days. That's when my friend and I found you. But I don't know if you were unconscious before that, so I'm not positive as to the exact amount of time, she answered. He pondered for a moment, searching for the right words in his mind. Thank you, he began, for taking care of me. I really appreciate it. My name is Ukyo. The girl smiled. Well, Ukyo, you are very welcome, she giggled. My name's Kagome Higurashi. It's a pleasure to meet you. So that's where I'm going to stop for this one. It keeps going, but I want to move on to some of the other stories. This one did pretty well, I believe. Let me see. I can see how many followers and stuff it had. This one had about 4 followers. That means that there were 4 people that subscribed to it. I only posted 2 chapters, so I'd never finished it. It was last updated on June 17th of 2011. So apparently I had this going for 2 years for 2 chapters. So yeah, moving on. This next one is called The Second Flight, and this is a fan series for a series called Air TV. And this is the little summary. He was just the cousin that Kiso had met once, and he had almost forgotten about him. But then he disappeared 9 months ago, and that was all the Kunisaki family could talk about. Yukito was gone, that's all Kiso knew. Then he met her. Alright, so this is the little prologue. 11:23 p.m., a time when no one should be walking about the streets. Instead, they should have been in bed, dreaming of fantasies that were almost never to come true. Then one might ask themselves what he was doing that night. His tall, scrawny figure was hidden beneath a black trench coat, and his long scarlet hair floated behind him. One hand was shoved into the pocket of the coat, seeking warmth in the chilly evening air, while the other was gripped tightly around the handle of a package. A birdcage, to be exact, holding a prisoner. This bird was small for a raven, but he made up for it with his amazing eyes. They were stunning gold and held so much emotion that one could almost know what he was thinking. He watched the man very carefully, searching for any signs of weakness that could be used against him. He was desperate to be set free and continue on his journey. When the man suddenly stopped, the bird took his eyes off of him for the first time since he was captured and turned his attention to the building in front of them. It appeared to be some sort of warehouse or office, but he could not really tell from the outside. There were many windows at the topmost level, but none on the lower levels, and there was only one entrance on the front. The bird began to squawk and cry, flapping his wings and scratching at the sides of the cage. He was intent on doing whatever it took to keep from finding out what lay on the inside of the building, even if it meant making a distraction. The man paid no heed to the bird and slowly and silently slipped through the door. The bird continued to fight as the man walked down the dark and empty hallway, the sounds of the bird's cries and the man's footsteps echoing off the walls. They entered a small room, and the man sat the cage on a wooden table against the wall. "Shush you," the man growled under his breath. He turned away from the cage and towards another table in the center of the room. This one was made of stone and looked much older than the wooden one. Lying on top of it was a figure, the figure of a person. The man glanced quickly at the body and then left the room. After he had gone, the bird fell silent, having no need to make noise anymore. He then turned his attention towards the body. It was obviously a young girl, probably no older than 16 or 17. He studied it intently for several minutes, then suddenly began to flap its wings and cry out again. He recognized this girl. He had known her in his first life. This was the very girl he had been searching for before he was captured. The girl whom he had protected during his life as a human until her death 8 months ago. Finally, the bird told himself, I found you, Misuzu. But what? What did these people want with you? What could they possibly expect to get out of you when you have already returned to traveling alone in the sky? So that is the prologue for the second flight. So the second flight had 2 chapters. I originally published it on January 25th, 2009. So again, 11 years ago. And it had 7 follows. So a little bit more. Moving on. So this next one. This one I will give a little bit of background on because there is a little bit of a story to it. So if you guys know anything about me, which you probably don't, but I have an obsession with Disney crossover couples. If you guys don't know what that means, essentially it just means like pairings of characters from 2 different, it could be Disney or it could be like other animated films, pairings of characters from 2 different film franchises, like where you kind of create a story where they come together. And my absolute favorite Disney crossover couple, it has been forever, is Jim Hawkins from Treasure Planet and Ariel from The Little Mermaid. And me and my sister were obsessed with this. My sister came up or made a video on YouTube where she kind of came up with a story of how they came together. And I absolutely fell in love with the story and I decided to turn it into a fan fiction. I even made a trailer, which if you guys want to watch that, I will link it down below for you. First uploaded this on September 26, 2011. And this one had 13 chapters. And it was going to have 14 chapters. And I left everyone hanging on the last chapter that I never posted. This one has 47 followers. And I have so many, still to this day have people on YouTube commenting on my channel, wanting to know the whole story. And I'm actually considering turning this one into a novel. Obviously, I'll have to change characters and, situations and stuff like that because obviously copyright. But yeah, so this one is my most popular story. This is one that I'm probably the most proud of, and it is called Iris. The little blurb is, she dreams of another world. He wishes he wasn't such a disappointment to his mother, especially after their inn mysteriously burns to the ground. Will their deals with the Sea Witch Ursula grant their wishes, or will it just destroy them both? All right, so I'm just going to read you guys the first chapter. The first chapter is called Moonlit Encounter. And actually, as I said, so just as a side note, I did create a channel, or I did create a trailer for this series, and then also for this chapter specifically, I was going to turn it into like a mini series on YouTube. So I do actually have episode 1, which is the first chapter on there. So I'll also link that down below if you guys want to see like the video version of this. But anyway, on to chapter 1. The water was still, too still. Ariel sighed as she stared up at its surface, the moonbeams piercing the water and falling onto her face ever so perfectly. The curiosity in her cerulean eyes sparkled. Her hands twitched with angst. She was daydreaming again, longing for a chance to explore the surface above on land. Ariel! The princess snapped back to reality at the sound of her sister's voice. She turned away from the window to look at her 6 sisters, who were all staring at her. I'm sorry, what did you say? Ariel stuttered, her face turning pink with embarrassment. I called your name like 4 times, her oldest sister, Atina, replied. What is it with you today? It seems like you've been in your own little world all day long. I swear, have you even left that windowsill since breakfast this morning? Oh, Atina, I haven't meant to be in a daze. I just can't help but wonder what it would be like, Ariel said, turning her eyes back to the water's surface. I can't help but wonder what it would be like to spend a day up there. She reached a hand towards the surface as if she were going to try and grasp it. Sighing, she pulled it back, knowing that her dream was far out of reach. Atina rolled her eyes. Ariel, what have I told you? She scoffed. It's forbidden to go to the surface. You know how Father feels about your little fantasies. You just need to get this idea out of your head. You're a mermaid, and nothing's going to change that. Mermaids belong in the sea, not up there. Ariel sighed. She knew her sister was right, but she couldn't help but be curious. Ever since she was a young mermaid, she dreamed of the world above and what it would be like to live among the humans. Despite her father's scolding, she longed to be a part of that world. I know, Atina, but aren't you curious, even just a little bit? Don't you want to know what the humans are like? I mean, they can't all be bad, can they? She protested. Atina pinched her eyebrows together. Ariel, she began, humans are the reason that our mother is dead. How could you be so interested in the people who murdered our mother? Ariel slunk down on the windowsill. She didn't know how to answer. She just couldn't explain it. Something about the human world fascinated her, and that's all she knew. That's enough for tonight, girls, Alana, one of Ariel's other sisters said. It's late. We should go to bed. Alana's right, Ariel, Atina said, swinging over to her seashell bed. We should rest. Tomorrow's the concert, so we need to get a good night's sleep so we're ready. Ariel shook her head. I'm not tired yet. I think I'll sit here for a while longer before I go to sleep. All right, but not too late, okay? Atina added as she crawled under her coral pink blanket. Ariel nodded. The next hours seemed to just fly by. Ariel continued to watch the moonlight shimmer on the water's surface, dreaming of living with the humans. She'd never seen one up close, but she could imagine the grace they had when they walked or danced, and she could imagine the happiness they shared living on land. Suddenly, a dark shadow fell across the ocean floor. Ariel gasped, looking up at the surface. Her heart leapt in her chest. A dark, luminous shape was crossing overhead, blocking out the moonlight. A ship. Curiosity getting the better of her, Ariel glanced back at her sisters. They were sound asleep in their seashell beds. Smiling, Ariel spun back around and swam out the window. She emerged out of the water a few seconds later, pushing her crimson, water-heavy bangs out of her eyes. The ship was simple, but yet beautiful to the little mermaid. She had never been so close to one before. Her curiosity grew with each passing second, so she swam closer. As she neared the side of the ship, she could hear a faint voice. Human, she thought, her eyes lighting up. She looked up with side of the ship. I don't think that's how that sentence was supposed to be, but searching for anything she could use to pull herself up so she could peer onto the deck. Up above, she saw an opening with a ledge underneath it, the perfect place to perch and look onto the deck without being noticed. Grabbing a hold of a rope that was draped down the side of the ship, Ariel hoisted herself up onto the ledge. Once she had positioned herself comfortably, she took a deep breath and then peered through the little opening. The deck was completely abandoned except for a young boy. He looked about her age, though he was much taller. He was dressed in a fashion that Ariel had seen numerous times on sailors, with a plain tan shirt with a black coat, olive-colored pants, and black boots. He had a gold earring in one ear, which Ariel found odd, and his chestnut-colored hair was tied back. He was holding a strange tool and spreading water around the deck. Ariel felt her heart start to beat faster and faster with each passing moment. He was beautiful. He was perfect. She had never seen anyone more handsome than this boy. She couldn't help but smile. She longed to reach out and touch him, to stroke his pale skin and to walk with him. Actually walk with him. She wished she could speak to him, ask him his name, and ask him about how it felt to be human, but she knew she couldn't. Humans had no knowledge of mermaids. To them, mermaids were just fairy tales. She couldn't betray her people out of greed. And what would her father say? She sighed. She would just have to watch him from afar, dreaming of the day when they could somehow meet. So that is my first chapter of Iris. As I said, that one I'm most proud of. It's one that I really feel like I want to turn into some sort of novel at some point. So those are all of the stories that I'm going to read for you guys today. I absolutely love writing, and I've gotten back into it just in the last couple of days, and I'm just really excited to start writing more. But I hope you guys found this video interesting. I thought it would be something kind of different, something kind of fun. You guys could get to see kind of a different side of me. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys are not already subscribed, please be sure to hit that subscribe button as well as the little bell notification so that you're notified whenever I upload. I will go ahead and link my fan fiction down below if you guys want to go and read more of these stories, if you're interested in that at all. Also, my Instagram and my TikTok are linked down below, so please be sure to go and check those out. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.